had I not been showing up with my like new elevated branding, like I don't think I would have had the confidence to like send a $25,000 proposal to somebody.
Welcome to the Self-Made Life podcast, the show for entrepreneurs who are building a business and life they actually love. I'm your host, Ashley Wyatt, creative director and founder of the Monarch Design Co. And I believe that the right brand, the right systems, and the right strategy can change everything. Each week, we're having honest conversations about branding, websites, copywriting, SEO, AI, motherhood, and what it really likes to grow a sustainable business in this season of life. I'm sharing the wins, the lessons, and the messy in between. Because being self-made isn't about doing it alone. It's about building something that actually fits your life. So let's dive in. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Self-Made Life podcast. I'm your host, Ashley Wyatt from Monarch Design Co. And today's episode is a special one because my guest is actually someone I've had the privilege of working with. So Shannon is the founder of Make Space Organizing, a high-touch organizing service based in Long Branch, New Jersey. She launched her business back in 2021 and has building it intentionally ever since. And she's the kind of person who makes you feel both inspired and completely normal at the same time. She is just a breath of fresh air, so personable and down to earth, but a complete badass at the same time. And I have just had the absolute pleasure of watching her grow and expand and take flight over the past couple of years. So Shannon actually came to me in 2024. So 2 years ago now, for Rebrand. And I've basically just watched her go from her Canva logo where she couldn't quite explain to landing a $25K project just weeks after her brand launched. And you never told me that story, and I didn't know that until recently. You've been holding out on me, and I'm just like, wow, that is incredible. So we're going to definitely chat about that and so much more today. So welcome, Shannon.
I'm so glad to be here. It's so fun to chat with you.
Yay. So before we dive in, we always like to do a little boss or bust. So something that maybe went as planned, or something that you want to celebrate, or maybe something that just didn't go as planned for you this past week.
This past week was one of those weeks where like I was running around everywhere trying to like get all the things done. And in the middle of it, I actually got into my very first car accident, which was a total bust, I would say. Not great. My car is, thankfully, everyone's okay. But, it's just one of those things where for me, it was kind of like a reminder that like I have to slow down. Like I can't just keep like rushing from place to place because, not only is that when you start to like drop all the balls, but like things like this happen where, you think you're doing great and then suddenly you're not. So it was like a real life kind of wake up call that, it was, a minor accident, not a big deal, but enough to like throw a wrench in the week that was already really full and busy. So, lesson learned, slow down.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you and everyone involved is okay.
Yeah, me too.
I too had a reminder to slow down when my kids gifted me gastro for Mother's Day. And we actually had to reschedule this episode. So thank you for your understanding on that. I have not been so sick in a very long time. And if it's anything, I hate throwing up more than anything.
Agreed. It is the worst.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, though, like I was able to actually rest, which I haven't done in a while. So yeah, sometimes you just need that reminder.
Exactly. Like a force that just comes in from the outside, like slow down.
Yeah. So before we get into all of it, I want to go back to the beginning because your story has this really interesting thread of knowing and waiting. So you had actually looked into professional organizing right out of college, right? And what made you finally feel like, okay, I need to take this idea, I need to make it and run with it and take that leap in 2021?
Yeah. I mean, COVID is the short answer. Like for a long time, I had heard about it, learned about it, looked into it after college, but Like it wasn't really a thing. There was like not really anyone in my area, definitely not someone who was hiring, and I was not going to start my own business. That didn't even like cross my mind as an option. And so it had always been like my answer to that icebreaker question of like, what's your dream job? I'm like, oh, I want to be a professional organizer. Then after COVID, like by like, I don't know, spring 2021, my kids were back in school full time finally. And my husband was not forcing, but kind of like encouraging me to like find something to do because I had left my job because they were at home doing school and it didn't make sense to work. But he was like, you know, you've been saying this for years. Like, why don't you try? Like I had been organizing for my friends when they would like buy a house. I would help them set up their kitchen, or when, you know, they were ready to have a baby, like helping them figure out how to organize their nursery and get that all set up. And like, you know, I've been doing that for a long time. But that was really kind of the kick, was to just my husband to be like, you should just go for it. Like, you know, what's the worst that could happen is that nothing happens.
Yeah, I love that. You know, it's so encouraging when others see things before you see it, right? Like it sounds like this, you know, you had that mix of fear and readiness and, you know, it wasn't an overnight idea or decision. This was really like probably like a decade in the making.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it was definitely underneath all the time.
Yeah. Amazing. And now look at you. You are living that dream. When people ask you, you know, what's your dream and what's your dream job? You're literally, I'm a professional organizer. I'm living it.
It's really pretty cool to be able to say that, because I know that's not the case for a lot of people. And like, I just feel really lucky that I get to do the thing that I love to do.
I feel that so deep in my core. Like, I just feel like life is too short to be spending your days doing something that doesn't fulfill you.
Yeah.
And to like be able to do something that you love and have that impact on others. It's like, wow. Right.
Yeah, it's really special. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're building this business, you've got real clients, real results, but something really wasn't lining up. So let's talk about that. Like what was that turning point or aha moment where you're like, I need to change some things?
Yeah. So I remember very vividly, it was like August of 2023. And I was sitting across from my therapist and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like I had been doing this business for a little bit and I just felt like I didn't know if I wanted to quit or if I wanted to like go all in, and like really kind of teetering there. Because it's really hard. And I was feeling really discouraged because I didn't see the results that like I knew I could get, but I didn't like know the way forward. You know, as most of us don't, we're all figuring it out to some degree. And I remember I had signed up for the How To Summit that year, and which is a national professional organizing conference. And I was like, this is going to be my deciding factor. I'm either going to go to this conference and be like, never mind, I don't want to do this, or like, okay, I'm going to do it. And so I went and I met so many amazing people that made me just feel normal. Like I wasn't failing at this. I just like wasn't there yet. And like, that's okay. And, you know, talking to different people at different levels of business really like gave me a lot of like compassion for myself that like, I'm not a failure. I just like need to do things a little bit differently. And so that's when I decided like, I need to shift, and like, if I'm going to go all in, I'm going to go all in. And so for me, that meant a couple different things. And like one of them was working with a coach for the first time. And then she actually had connected me with you. And that really was a big part of it. Like I felt like my branding was terrible. It was terrible. Like I didn't feel like it was. It actually was. And I had signed a contract with a local magazine to do like print advertising. And every time my ad was in the magazine, I was like, oh, I hate it. Like it's so ugly. I don't know what else to do. It's just like really bad. And part of it was because I just didn't have any kind of brand presence and it looked amateur. And like, I didn't like want to be an amateur organizer. Like I wanted to like actually have a company and like do big projects. And like, I know that I have the skills for those things, but I just felt really stuck. And so, you know, deciding to rebrand was really like a huge investment for me at the time because I didn't really have a lot of income, but also I didn't like it felt like such a big leap to take. But I also was like, I know I'm not going to move forward well without this piece, because I need something that like is actually reflective of my skill set and like the quality work that I do. And what I had was communicating like amateur hour, like, she's probably fine. But like, I wanted someone to look at it and be like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And like, that's what I feel like, you were able to create for me, which, blew way beyond my expectations. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, it really like, it comes down to it being, it's more than just, a logo. It's really like making sure you're building that solid foundation, making sure that everything is in alignment, because it's kind of like you're shifting those gears, right? Like you've been trying, it's not going through, it's not working. And all of a sudden, when you start shaping and molding and shifting everything and getting clear on your focus, that's when like the door opens, right?
Yes.
And that's when, you're able to move past that. And that's when those bigger opportunities flow through. And like when things start feeling easier and more in alignment, not just with like, your branding and your positioning, but how you show up more confidently, how project yourself on these discovery or consult calls, where your brand lives and all the different facets, and how people, react to things, right? What was it like showing up to bigger opportunities with a brand that made you feel small versus stepping into that new brand presence?
I mean, the reality was I showed up to nothing before. Like, I didn't even like, it didn't even like cross my mind that that was an option. I feel like having this rebrand, like almost made me excited to show up somewhere. And like the day I remember like launching my like new branding the same day that I like was at a conference, like being a vendor, and like showing up with like all of my stuff, like so beautifully done. Like I had my tablecloth with my logo on it, and like all these new printed materials with like my new branding colors, and like everything was like so cohesive and like professional. And at that venue, there were also 2 other organizing companies, and I felt like my presentation was like next level compared to them. And like, no offense to them, like no shade, but like I felt like I'm actually communicating a really different experience based on like how I'm showing up here with, because I have this branding, it makes it like legitimate. And yeah, like, and side note, like I, at that conference the following year, met a group of women that I like joined. It's like a networking group, and they were blown away by my branding and like had to meet me. And then when I joined their group, they told me like, having you come here, like makes us feel legitimate because like you are so polished and put together. And I was like, okay, like it makes such a big impact that like I didn't even realize it would. And it, it carries through in so many different aspects. Yeah. I don't know if that even answered your question, but
yeah, no, and then some. I like to use it as like the analogy of like that new outfit energy, like when you love what you're wearing, like you show up differently, you have new confidence. And for the longest time, I was like doing this for like my own clients. And I recently went through the process of doing it for myself. And now I am like, I want to wear color again. Like, I feel like I'm excited to show up and like, send people a link to my website or hand out my business card. Like it's such a energetic shift too. Like it almost like magnetizes like those right opportunities, whether with clients or networking or, the right people. So it really does sound like, you walked away with more than just, new colors and like a logo.
100%.
Like you walked away with like a completely shifted like mindset and like outlook.
Yes. Yeah.
I love that. So let's talk about the 25K story.
Okay.
So I have to ask because, it's one of my favorite client stories. It is a very recent one that I have just been aware of, but, like I'm just so like thankful to be a part of like a small part of that journey. You booked $25,000 project just weeks after launching your new brand. Like that is, I did the math on it. It's a 614% increase on like the return on your investment,
Yeah.
right? And like there you were, I know that branding and like working with all different types of experts it's an investment, right?
Yeah.
But like that return is huge. Walk us through, that whole story. Like, where were you? How were you feeling?
Mhm.
Just tell me everything.
So I found this client who's like, they're just the best through an interior designer that I have known for a while. And she reached out to me and was like, my client wants their garage done. And they just put in this outdoor kitchen that they want organized, and their pantry is terrible. And, so it kind of was a project that like came out of nowhere in a lot of ways. But also, like, I remember showing up. I didn't even meet the client initially. I showed up at the house, met the designer, like we did our walkthrough together. And in my head, I was like, I mean, they want all these things. Like, are they like, because this is the client I'm used to. I'm like, do they understand that like this is going to be a lot of money? Like, they're asking for a lot of spaces. They want like custom, like, closet, like a brand new pantry, a brand new garage system, and, plus organizing all these other spaces. And so like my initial thought was like, I don't know, it's going to be a lot of money. And so like, I'm like, in my head, like, I don't know, this feels like they're going to say no before I literally hadn't even met them yet. And she told me, she like has given me some of the best business advice, but she told me like, these are clients that are not going to push back on you as long as you can like explain like why it costs as much as it costs. Like they will be like, okay. And so like, do what you think is best. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to take that and I'm going to do what I think is best. And what the best result for them was a project that was $25,000. And I remember sending it and like feeling like, okay, that was like terrifying. And like, who knows what's going to happen, but like, whatever, I'm going to send it. I'm going to just do the thing. And I was like, not very busy at the time. And so I was weeding in my garden and the client calls me. This is the first time I've ever spoken to her. Was after I sent this proposal and I was like so nervous. And she's like, I just have a couple questions, like, and so I answered the questions and she was like, okay, this sounds great. Like, I'll put in the deposit right now. And like, literally like hung up the phone with her and like got the cha-ching from Honeybook. And I was like, I can't believe that just happened. Like, what is going on? But like, I felt like because like, I felt like I was showing up at like a different level. Because I didn't show up with my like silly branding that it wasn't even branding. It was just colors that I liked and words. And, but showing up, delivering a proposal that like was so professional because it was like totally branded and it looked like I was the pro that like I felt like I could be. Like they like, were like, okay, yeah, we trust you. And like, I like still can't believe it, but like to date, it's like one of my very favorite projects we've ever done. It was a complete 3-car garage, like overhaul and brand new pantry. We did their kitchen, like I said, outdoor spaces, and it was amazing. And I we've worked with them again since then and did a whole other all their closets. And yeah, like I think looking back, like the reason why I feel like I didn't tell you this story before is because it was like one of those things where like you're just in it and you're doing it. And like I didn't even like realize like how connected those two things were until like later on. I was just, I'm not a super reflective person. And so I think like it took me sitting down to like write that other post that you saw, like to be like, oh, like this is actually really why this happened the way that it did. Because I think had I not been showing up with my like new elevated branding, like I don't think I would have had the confidence to like send a $25,000 proposal to somebody and feel like this is the right choice. Like I know this is a lot of money, but like this is the best option, and it being received so well. So yeah, I think looking back now, I'm like, oh, like obviously these things are really connected, but in the moment, I had no idea.
What if your brand and website actually did the heavy lifting for you? That's exactly what happens inside the Monarch experience. My signature blend of brand strategy, show it web design, SEO, and ongoing support. Clients are already seeing steady inquiries roll in from Google, getting booked for their biggest jobs yet, doubling their confidence, and hearing things like, I found you on Google and couldn't stop scrolling your site. Pretty logo moment. It's the foundation of a business that supports your family, your time, and your next chapter. If you're ready for momentum that doesn't require you to live on your phone, tap the link in the show notes and let's chat. How you're growing and evolving into that next chapter, into that next level, and you feel confident because you're standing on that solid foundation and you look good doing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, you've built this business and you haven't built it fast. You've built it really intentionally. And I think that's, what helps to differentiate you from where you were before to where you are now. And even just taking that phone call and walking through and just so calmly, answering the questions and receiving that. Right. I love that. We were chatting a little bit more and you had said, that Q1 of this year was slower on the client side and your team worked, 3 days. A lot of business owners would kind of spiral at that. What did you do instead?
Well, I did spiral a little bit. I won't say that I'm this crazy person that doesn't phase. It definitely phased me, but I feel like I've been through it enough where my business has always been ebbs and flows. And that's one of the things that I was in Q1, I'm going to address this because I know there's a solution to it, but I'm not sure what it is. So I, went into Q1 already planning to work with somebody to help me figure out who's my next hire. I felt like it was probably some kind of marketing adjacent person to help me continue connections that I've made and build new ones and keep the things moving in the background that I've been doing. But with the anticipating that at some point I'm not going to be as free as I am right now. And I need to keep doing those things because that's the cycle that I had found myself in is when it's really quiet, I do all the things and then it gets really busy and I don't have time and I stop. And then my pipeline dries up and then I do it again. And it's the same cycle. And so I'm if I just had someone doing all those things all the time, then hopefully my pipeline would never dry out. So anyway, I worked with someone to figure out who my next hire is and then figure out what the plan is for that person. So job description, but also how this person and I are going to work together. What systems do I need to have in place? What do I have that's working? Where do I need to invest in something else? And then I also worked with a branding a messaging strategist. And that was a piece that I felt I was missing because I had this beautiful brand presence. And I felt visually I was showing up the way that I wanted to, but the words didn't quite match. And I really struggled to articulate what makes me and my business different than the next organizing company in my area. And what makes my team different and our approach different, and being able to put words around those things has always been a challenge for me. So working with somebody, I worked with Sierra Siegel, who is fantastic. And she created with me a brand Bible that has been a godsend. I feel branding is so important. And I that I think intellectually as a business owner, but until you've invested in things that actually are helpful and make you not just confident, but able to move forward. I think for me, branding has been one of the best investments I've ever made in my business, visually and now messaging, because now I feel I can show up fully and I feel prepared and I feel I'm showing up in a way that's not only authentic to me, but also I don't have to think on the fly all the time. I feel it's just simplified everything. And this piece now has allowed me to be able to bring somebody else in without them being is this what you want to say? Does this sound like you? I can just be this is what we sound like. This is what Make Space sounds like. So go and do something with it. And it's very empowering to be able to have those things in place, not only because I feel more legitimate now, but even because now I can hand it off to somebody else and feel and, unless they're terrible at their job, like they're going to do a really good job because it's really hard to mess it up because it's all laid out there for them. And so those are the things, like investing in those things in this season where it was really quiet. It's hard to invest when there's no money coming in because it is very stressful. But I know, and it's been proven to me over and over again that like investing in these things is non-negotiable. Like if I want to keep moving forward, like I have to ask for help and I have to invest in the things that are going to move my business forward that like I'm not skilled to figure out myself. And like I'm really good at organizing and space planning and designing, but I'm really bad at marketing. And so like I'm going to outsource that the best that I can because it's going to benefit me and my business long term, even though like in the short term sometimes it hurts because it is an expense, but it is like it pays off in dividends like really quickly. Yeah, like right now I'm like drowning in clients and so I don't even know.
Amazing. And
which is great.
I'm so glad that you spoke to like the tone and the messaging and like positioning, because that really does make a really big difference too when it comes to branding. Like branding, a lot of people think that it's like, just your logo, but there's many facets to your brand, right? Like it's your website, it's your messaging, it's your copy. It's how you show up. It's the visual aspects. And I literally went through this process quite recently as well with like my own, revamp with like the messaging and the tone. And I worked with a trusted copywriter that I've worked with over the years. And I think you touched on something that's very important that a lot of business owners might not realize is it is important to continually invest to get to that next level and to continue to grow beyond, where you're at, right? Because like before we worked together, you had grown from starting to where you were. And then we worked together and then you grew from there on to here and into the next and into the next level. So it's this constant evolution of not reinventing the wheel, but like, okay, how can I make things better? How can I align better? How can I free up more time? How can I reach the right people at the right time? Right? Like it's just ever evolving. And I think as a business owner, one thing that you need to keep doing is to continually evolve. Like if you are stagnant and you don't, like if you just, whip out your website and your logo and call it a day and just like leave it, like that gets stale.
That's how I started my business. And I was like, why do I have no clients?
Yeah. I mean, I see it often like now, like just with even like other people that are in the same space as I'm in, it's like, that was, it like 5 or 6 years ago, but like you haven't touched this. And I can tell, right? Like it's not just about like trends, but like things move so quickly, even like in this season of like AI, right? Like a lot of people are like seeing it with copy and like they can spot it from a mile away, right? So it's like, okay, how do you move past that? How do you bring on the right experts, the right support to help grow and evolve into that next level?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Totally.
You had mentioned that there were a few things that you really wanted to dig into on this episode, and I want to give you the space to kind of go there. So let's start off with like perfectionism, because I know that you've wrestled with that since the beginning, and I am a recovering perfectionist or people pleaser, and I relate to that. So let's chat about it.
Yeah. So perfectionism is like a constant. I mean, it's a part of me, and I can't let it go fully, but I am learning to see it and name it for what it is. So I have learned, I actually was recently, I went through like, I thought I had ADHD because I was just really struggling, like feeling like I know what I'm supposed to be doing, but like I can't do it. And I get distracted and I do other things. And like, what is going on? Like the executive dysfunction was like screaming. And so I went and got evaluated and they were like, so unfortunately you don't, or fortunately, however you want to take it, you don't have ADHD. However, you are like an incredible perfectionist and you have a lot of anxiety, and like together that equals executive dysfunction. And so it was validating to hear that like those things, like that's not untrue for me. Like I am actually experiencing that, but the reason why is not because I have ADHD. It's because my perfectionism and anxiety create this like constant struggle for me. Like I feel like, and I've always felt like if I can't do it all the way, like I don't even want to try. Or if I can't like think through something all the way or whatever it is, like I've started 100 things and then gotten to the point where I think, I don't know if this is it. And so then I like stop instead of like pressing through that discomfort and being like, okay, like it feels weird or it's not working right away, but like that doesn't mean it's a failure. It just means like you have to keep going. And so that's the part that I'm like constantly wrestling with. And I have people now in my life who I've like shared this with and that I've worked with that like know me well enough to like hear it when it's coming out and say like, that's not real. Like that is, worst case scenario thinking or like, just, yeah, like those kinds of things are like a byproduct of it. And it's not like, that's not actually reality. And so like the things that I've been doing to like push back on that are like doing the thing that I hate doing because I feel like there's no result. But like, there is a result if you keep doing it. And so like for me, that was like sending out an email newsletter. Like I always felt like I was sending it out into the abyss. Like no one's going to read it. Like, why do I even try? So I'm not going to do it. And the same thing with blogging. I'm like, what does it even matter? Like no one comes to read my blog. Like who cares if I'm blogging? But then like, I know in my head, like if you send emails, like your name is popping up more, even if they don't read it, they're seeing it. Like eventually they read it. And it's all about repetition. And like, same thing with the blog. Like you're not blogging for humans, you're blogging for Google so that it can scroll your website and like read your keywords and then send you the right people. And so I'm like, I know all the things, but I just feel like the reward, it takes a really long time. But like, I've been doing those things consistently since the fall. And like, I'm noticing now I'm getting more leads from Google. And like, I've gotten a lot of leads recently from ChatGPT. I'm like, somebody is reading my blog. It's just not a human. And so I'm like, okay, the things do work. I just want it to work perfectly immediately. And like, that's not real. And so like, for me, it's all those things, like wanting to do it right, but also like wanting to do it and seeing the result quickly. And that's not how it goes. But it doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. It does actually work if you stick it out and don't give up when you don't see results after like a month or two, because that's just not enough time. But yeah,
I totally can relate and I understand fully. And I think like that's just it, right? It's like giving yourself grace, understanding that these things take time and continually showing up because that's when things compound, right?
Yes.
And there's like the trust piece too, right? Because you're building something that doesn't follow a formula. Yes. And I think that takes a certain kind of confidence that isn't always easy to find, especially as business owners doing all the things. How did you learn to trust your own instincts when there's so much outside noise telling you what to do? And what do you wish that you've given yourself permission sooner?
I think for me, I like relied heavily on the people who I thought were experts, and like, not that they aren't experts, but they were experts in my industry. And like, I feel like for a season, that was exactly what I needed. And then like, I needed to like think about my own self and not just do what everybody else was doing and figure out like, what is the business that I'm building? Like, yes, it's an organizing company, but like, it's my organizing company. And so it needs to look like me and, my skills and the way that I want to live and like the things that I think are important. And it took me a long time to feel like I could even like have those feelings, and I worked with someone over the summer and she was someone who like gave me permission to like push back on the things that like, she would ask me a question. She's an operations strategist and like not in the organizing world at all. And she would ask me questions and I would give her the answer. And she would be like, yeah, but like, why? Like, or like, why does that, like, what makes you different? Like, what are you doing? And I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. And so like working with her, I like kind of gave me permission to like think about what am I doing? Like, I'm not just creating everybody else's organizing company. I'm creating my organizing company. And like that means I have to take the time to like figure out what that is, but then also like believe in myself enough to actually do something about it and like have the conviction to be like, this is actually what I'm doing. And so one of the things that I decided was like, I don't really want to do like small projects. Like, I don't want to do a lot of like one-on-one decluttering. And not to say that we won't ever do that, but like what I'm uniquely gifted at is like seeing a space and like totally changing it. Like new systems, like, you know, we'll bring in our handyman and we're going to like repaint the whole wall and put in new flooring and like do all the things. And like, that's where I really shine. And I want to do more of that. And so like pivoting away from like just traditional organizing where you like show up for decluttering or you bring the bins and you put it in the thing. And like, that's, we still do that, of course. But like what I really wanted to lean into were these bigger projects that like frankly I'm just really good at, like, and they bring me so much joy and I really love them, and like the result for a client is like transformational. So like that's what I want to be able to deliver. So being able to think through that, I mean, it was not, it took me a really long time of like wrestling, because that also meant like saying goodbye or like letting go of potential projects that like are those other things in order to like have the space to say yes to the things that I really like love doing. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that is really important too. And I mean, I think you touched on something that's really important as well, is like when we're continually working with the coaches, with the people, you know, it kind of makes you lose sight on like yourself and your business, right?
Yeah.
And the fact that you had someone pushing back and like challenging you on things like that is really like validating and just like so important to have like your own autonomy on your life and your business. And like I'm coming out of a season of working with back-to-back coaches, and I'm just gonna fly solo for a little bit and really kind of like trust my intuition. And like, you know, intuition is like a muscle, right? Like you constantly have to work it in order for it to like grow stronger. And I think you're right. Like there's a season and a reason and a place to work with these people. And it's okay to kind of like outgrow certain ideologies and like shift into something that suits you better. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we're all like unique people. Like all the entrepreneurs, we started it for our own specific reasons. And like, I think it is so easy to lose sight of that as you grow and like needs change and things get bigger or busier. But like, I think quieting the noise is like essential so that you can like listen to that intuition that you do have. It just gets like buried in all the noise.
Yeah. And like, I have to say, like, I have worked with so many organizers and you all are so, so different. And even, you know, your, you know, community of organizers in New Jersey, like you guys are so different, right? And that's really what sets you all apart. And it's just such a beautiful community to kind of see and like I'm sure for you be a part of, right?
It is. And it's nice we don't all do the same thing, because then we can be friends.
Yeah.
Like truly, you know,
like
and
if
like
you're like, I don't want to declutter, you can pass that on. And like if so-and-so doesn't want to, you know, transform and like design, they can like, you know, it's just a really beautiful way of like working together. And like there literally is more than enough work for everyone.
Yes.
Like I see it all the time, like even in like my industry too, right? Like, you know, some people are like very like nitpicky on like some things. And it's just like, you know, I am confident in like what sets us apart than so-and-so. So like, you know, we're all here to, you know, do the bigger thing and like help support those people, which are our clients, right?
Yeah. For sure.
So you said something that I keep thinking about, and that is standing at the edge of something exciting. And I want to talk more about that and what that looks like. So you're expanding into small business spaces now, right? What does it feel like to bring that same intentionality into a commercial setting? And like, I was laughing as I was like reading this because like my office, like, I mean, it looks pretty here. All around, and it's like what definitely the system, but
no judgment. My desk is very similar, you just can't see it. So we recently completed like our very first commercial project, and it's like a totally different, I mean, it's the same in a lot of ways, but it's totally different in like what you're actually providing. The thing So we worked on a studio. It's like a social club studio for grownups and their little ones. Shout out to the Bunny Hive in Fort Monmouth. And so we helped Alex build out her storage closets. So she was like doing a brand new build, like from framing up. And so we helped her like looking at her floor plans, doing site visits, like figuring out where to put the shelves in the closet, and then like in her utility closet as well. And then I was able to help her like sort all of her supplies by like how her business is going to function. So they do like classes multiple times a day. And so they need tons and tons of supplies. And so the supplies were organized like by type, but within each class, which like made sense for their business. And so seeing it like coming to life and like seeing her use it and seeing the relief that it brought her as she's like opening this brand new business and like trying to figure out like how everything is going to work, and like bringing in teachers who like are brand new to all of this, and they also need to understand and figure it out. Like the value, like she told me recently, like this is like the best investment I made, because the value here is like, you can't even like explain it. Like it's one thing to not have to like worry about like opening all the supplies and like organizing them all and setting up a system. It's like another thing to like be able to like and have someone enter into it and like be able to use it without like a ton of oversight when like you already have so many other things going on. So like the idea with small businesses is like, you know, we all, as a small business owner, you have a million things going on in your head all the time. And if you have a physical space with stuff in it and it is not like organized in a way that works for the other people also who are working in the space, like it creates a lot of friction, whether it's like physical friction of like, I can't find the thing I'm looking for and now I'm frustrated, or I'm buying it again, or I'm like physically tripping over it because it's always in my way. And then like, you know, the emotional friction of like, I'm building resentment towards my boss because like this is making my job harder, or like they're frustrated with me because I'm late because I can't find the thing, or like whatever it is. And so like, it seems so simple that like creating a system there would solve a lot of those problems. Like, of course, it's not going to solve every single problem, but like, it's not a complicated solution. Like, oftentimes it's just like, okay, well, you need like an actual shelf to put the things on. And then you need some like containers to like hold the things, and then like a labeling system so that like anybody can use it and put things back where they belong and find them when they're looking for them. And like, you know, maybe you have a designated person that is the person who's making sure everything stays where it's supposed to, because those things don't happen automatically. But like, it's not like the way I sit, like the investment is not anywhere near like as much as the pain. So like, I feel like an easy yes for businesses to be like, actually, I do need this efficiency because like my business is really struggling. And also this is really frustrating. And so like organizing, you know, for our clients, it saves time, it saves money, it saves like a lot of frustration. And it's the same for businesses. Like all of those things are true within your business, you know, as they are in your home. And like for a business though, like at the end of the day, like our bottom line is probably the most important thing. And like this impacts your bottom line initially, but like any investment in your business, like the payoff is real, and like you will see it return to you in like human productivity and in like, you know, not overbuying and being able to just like move more quickly, and like even just promoting a better company culture because your employees are happier because they can find the thing they need. And so for me, like I love creating systems. I love the big transformation. And so this felt like a really natural next step. And I've been networking like crazy for like the last few years. And so I have a lot of connections like in my area with like other small business owners. So I'm excited to like be able to offer this to them in a way that is simple, but also like can be transformational for their business.
Yeah. Hence dropping the home.
That's right. That's right.
Love it. I love that you're stepping into this new offer, this new energy. And you're right. Like it makes a huge difference. Like before when I worked in corporate, like the first place I was at, they were so disorganized with like their digital files and physical files, like back when paper files were a thing. And it was like, it ate up so much time, like billable time, right?
Yeah.
And you know, now looking at, you know, how I've, you know, structured things and even like growing with like team and support, like having those efficiencies, whether that's, digitally or like in person, makes so much of a difference. And it's like a difference that like pays back in tenfolds with time, with sanity, like overbuying. So yeah, I love that. And I think that it's a huge opportunity for business owners to really, take a good look at things and see where they can optimize their efficiencies for everything.
Yeah, totally.
So I'm sure we can like talk on forever, but before I let you go, I want to make sure that our listeners know how they can work with you, how they can find you, because you have something really special to offer. You offer, one-on-one calls that are basically an open ask you anything, right? Especially for business owners. You're not necessarily like positioning yourself as a coach, but more as like getting an hour with someone who's been in the trenches like you have, and genuinely just like committed to being honest about like what would work best, right? So normally $150 for the hour, and you're extending special offer for the Self-Made Life listeners of $99. I think, everything, I'm going to link everything in the show notes, but would love to like, if you want to add anything, like I will definitely add all the links below too.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I would love to chat with anybody about their business or, whatever is going on organizationally, even like within their business. Locally, if you're in New Jersey, we do serve all of New Jersey. And so if you're in the area looking for something, you can find us at makespacenj.com or on Instagram if you just want to follow along. We're at Makespace NJ there too. I confess I'm not great at Instagram. I post very occasionally, but our email list is really the best way to like stay in touch with us if you want to know what's really going on. And you can join our email list right on our website. So
yeah. And I will link everything there too. I know I will definitely be taking Shannon up on her offer of that call, because looking around my office, I'm like, I need a system, girl. Let's map it out. But yeah, so yeah, that's exactly why I love having guests like you on the show. So thank you so much for being so open and honest. And just, I think this episode was a good reminder to all of us that there's no right or wrong way to do things. And it's just been so nice to catch up with you. So you can find Shannon at makespacenj.com and on Instagram at makespacenj, and I will link everything in the show notes. So if today's episode resonated with you, please share it with a business owner or a friend or someone locally in New Jersey who is in desperate need of home organizing and transformation services. And until then, we will see you next week. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today on The Self-Made Life. If you loved this episode, share it with a friend, leave a review, or hit follow so that you never miss an episode. Want to work together or grab some free resources? You can always find me over at www.themonarchdesign.co/podcast. Until next time, keep dreaming, keep building, and go create your self-made life.
This podcast is produced, mixed, and edited by Cardinal Studio. For more information about how to start your own podcast, please visit www.cardinalstudio.co or email Mike at mike@cardinalstudio.co. You can also find the details in the show notes.